The early sun stretched over the golden grasslands of eastern Burkina Faso. Orange streaks cut through the morning fog as President Ibrahim Traoré stood beside his sleek black SUV, sipping mint tea in silence. He was dressed modestly, dark linen shirt, sand-colored trousers, and military boots that still bore the dust of his last village tour. Today's journey was to a rural youth center where hundreds of young people waited to hear him speak. The speeches were already written, the crowd was gathering, the drums had started thudding from the village square. But the motorcade was behind schedule. Idrissa! A tall, sharply dressed presidential advisor with a French accent and clipped beard approached with urgency. "Sir," he said, "if we take the main road, we arrive in 2 hours. But there's a shortcut, through the bush, very quiet, no towns. We'd be there in 40 minutes. President Ibrahim looked up slowly, eyes narrowing. "Is the road secure?" "Yes, sir," Idrissa replied quickly, not missing a beat. "Our men swept it yesterday. I supervised it myself." From the side, Karim Traor's head bodyguard shifted uncomfortably. "That road's too quiet. I've never liked it." "We're low on fuel," Idrissa pressed, "and the youth are waiting." A long pause hung in the air. Then Ibrahim nodded. "Fine, we'll take the shortcut." The convoy moved out. 5 vehicles, 2 armed escorts leading, the president's SUV in the center, 2 more at the rear. The shortcut was a narrow dirt road snaking between tall elephant grass, dry trees, and wide silence. No homes, no smoke, no animals. Just the soft hum of tires on gravel and the tension of men scanning every inch. Minutes passed. Then suddenly, they saw it. A large lion stood in the center of the dirt road, its golden mane catching the rising sun like a crown of fire. The convoy screeched to a halt. The lion didn't roar, didn't move, just stood there, planted like a statue, staring directly at the president's SUV with an unsettling calmness. Karim leaned forward. "What in God's name?" One of the guards whispered. It's not attacking." The front escort truck revved and honked. No reaction. A soldier raised his gun to fire a warning shot, but Traoré's voice cut through the silence. "No." He rolled down his window and stared back at the lion, their eyes locked across the distance. "It's not here to hurt us," he said softly, "but it's blocking the road." "Try driving around it," Idrissa snapped. "It's just a lion. We're wasting time." But Ibrahim raised a hand. "No, stop the car," he ordered. "Send a man. I want the ground checked, right beneath where it stands." "Sir?" Idrissa blinked, now clearly rattled. "It's an animal. We can scare it away." "Check the ground." 2 guards stepped out, rifles raised, moving cautiously toward the lion. But the beast didn't move, didn't flinch. It just stood, eyes like amber flame, breathing slowly. Then one soldier knelt and froze. "Down, sir," he whispered, voice trembling. There's something here." Everyone jumped into motion. Ibrahim stepped out slowly, the wind ruffling his shirt. The lion didn't react. Beneath its powerful paws, just inches from where the SUV would have passed, was a wire. A tripwire, attached to a landmine. 3, in fact. And the lion had stopped them dead in their tracks. The soldiers surrounded the site in seconds. Radios crackled, guns were drawn. One man snapped a photo of the mines with his phone, while another traced the wire backward toward the roadside brush. 3 of them, Karim confirmed grimly. Military grays, freshly planted. President Ibrahim stood silently, still facing the lion. It hadn't moved. Its golden eyes held steady, like it knew. Idrissa stepped forward, his voice just barely under control. "Sir, this could be an old rebel trap. Perhaps someone knew this road was once used by government convoys." "This was cleared yesterday," Ibrahim cut in coldly, turning to face him. "Isn't that what you told me?" "Yes, sir. Our team, my team, swept it. I personally oversaw it." Karim knelt next to the mine. This isn't old. Look. He pointed at the disturbed earth around the device. Boot prints, fresh ones. The soil hasn't even settled yet. Ibrahim's eyes narrowed. Someone knew, he said slowly. Knew we'd take this road. Knew exactly when. Idrissa swallowed hard. Sir, I swear. I was only thinking of your time. The youth are waiting. We were late, that's all. Karim stood, hand resting on his sidearm. Then why push so hard for a shortcut not even listed in today's route logs? Idrissa's throat bobbed again. I was just trying to be efficient. Before anyone could respond, the distant sound of a motorcycle broke the silence. Dust kicked up behind a fast-moving figure. Moments later, Sekou, the commander of presidential security, arrived on a dirt bike, flanked by backup soldiers. He jumped off without removing his helmet. We found mines, Karim said. 3. All would have detonated right under the president's car. Sekou's eyes flicked to the lion, then to the road. And who chose this route? Everyone looked at Idrissa. I did, he answered quickly, with all good intentions. Sekou turned to the president. Sir, may I speak to you privately? They stepped aside. Sekou didn't waste time. We intercepted a signal ping this morning, unauthorized. Came from one of the security detail. We traced it to a satellite uplink registered to a private military contractor, foreign. Ibrahim's jaw clenched. Whose man was it? Assigned to Idrissa, directly. The words were cold, surgical. Ibrahim turned his head slowly and looked back toward his advisor, now standing awkwardly, pretending to scroll his phone. His hands trembled. His route, Ibrahim said aloud. You insisted on it. You promised it was safe. And now a lion saved me before you could kill me. Idrissa went pale. Sir, please, I don't... Arrest him? The command was quiet, final. Soldiers rushed forward. Idrissa stumbled back, trying to explain, but 2 guards grabbed him, cuffed him, and pulled him toward the rear truck. President Ibrahim turned back to the lion. It was still there, watching, waiting. Then, just as calmly as it had arrived, the lion stepped aside and disappeared into the tall grass. No roar, no growl, just silence, as if it had completed its mission. The entire convoy stood in stunned silence. Dust swirled gently where the lion had stood moments earlier, its powerful body now swallowed by the brush. No one moved. No one spoke. President Ibrahim stepped forward slowly, eyes still fixed on the spot. It waited, he murmured. It waited until we saw the truth. Karim approached, visibly shaken. Sir, this is not a coincidence. That lion, it didn't just show up. Sekou was already issuing rapid orders to the team. Mark this entire section. No one moves further until we sweep every inch. I want drones in the air, thermal imaging. I want to know who planted these mines and when. One of the younger soldiers, barely 20, looked at the president with wide eyes. Sir, do you think that lion was something else? Ibrahim didn't answer. His gaze drifted from the soil to the treetops to the vast open sky. Then he turned sharply to Sekou. Take Idrissa straight to headquarters. Interrogate him in isolation. I want his devices, his calls, his route logs, everything. No press, no leaks. Yes, sir. The arrest had shaken the others. They now watched Ibrahim not just as their leader, but as a man who had stared death in the face and had been spared. As the convoy reversed back toward the main road, Ibrahim sat quietly in the SUV, staring out the window. The breeze was soft, almost too soft. The land looked peaceful, but he knew better now. It wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about strategy. Someone had mapped the convoy's movements with precise timing. Someone inside had fed them details. And yet, none of their plans had accounted for the lion. Back at the presidential compound, intelligence officers scrambled. Sekou led the interrogation personally. Idrissa sat cuffed to a chair in a concrete room, sweat glistening on his forehead. We traced your phone, Sekou said coldly. You deleted everything, but our system recovered the logs. He tossed a file on the table. 2 days ago, you stopped near the exact spot the mines were planted, alone, no security. Why? I needed to check the route, Idrisa stammered. To be sure. Thiku slammed the table. Stop lying! Idrisa flinched. Then Sekou pulled out a screen. Maybe this will help. He played a grainy video captured by a hidden village drone near a telecom mast. In the footage, Idrisa was seen shaking hands with a man in military boots who handed him a small object, a satellite phone. Sekou pointed. We found that phone hidden under your car seat. You forgot to destroy it. Idrisa's face collapsed. Idem, he said. They just wanted to scare him, he whispered. Make him feel vulnerable. Not kill him. Just control him. Who is they? Sekou demanded. I don't know names. They were foreigners. They hate him. They said he's uniting Africa, threatening their grip. Sekou leaned closer. And you sold out your country. For what? Idrisa didn't respond. His silence said enough. Back in the palace, Ibrahim stood in his private office, holding a photo taken just before they turned back. A lion, standing over a landmine, staring straight into the heart of power. He whispered to himself, There's something greater watching this land. 2 days had passed since the lion halted the convoy. Yet the palace was far from calm. President Ibrahim Traoré walked alone through the long corridor outside the intelligence wing. His steps were slow, heavy. Betrayal by a trusted advisor was one thing, but the more terrifying question haunted him now. How many more were hiding behind smiles? He entered the operations room, where Sekou stood over a table flanked by cyber technicians and military analysts. The walls were lined with monitors, each flickering with satellite maps, troop positions, and security feeds. Status? Ibrahim asked. Sekou stepped forward, his voice low. Sir, we've finished scanning all palace devices. And home of the security camera supervisors. His tablet had encrypted files, hidden folders. We cracked them. He placed a slim printed packet on the table and opened it. Inside were detailed GPS logs, live tracking data of the president's movements over the past week. Not just routes, timestamps, angles, updates every 60 seconds. Sekou tapped the last entry. This tracking continued right up to the moment that Lion stopped us. Whoever sent the data knew exactly where your car would be, second by second. Ibrahim's hands clenched. Who? Lieutenant Liamba, Sekou said grimly. A logistics officer, quiet, loyal on paper, worked in your circle for 6 years. And now? Already in custody, he confessed. Sekou handed over the written statement. Be added to planting a data beacon on the lead convoy vehicle. Said he was promised a new life, money, a European visa, a position in a foreign security firm. One of the handlers carried an ID badge labeled Langley Group Support. Ibrahim stared at the page, eyes scanning every line. Foreign interests, private contractors, promises of safety in exchange for treason. This wasn't a rebel act, he said. It was international, coordinated. Sekou nodded. They tried landmines. Next time it'll be something else. His reached the same way. Ibrahim walked to the window, pulling the curtain aside. Outside, a giant bronze lion statue had just been mounted on the presidential lawn, commissioned overnight by a group of young artists using scraps from retired army vehicles, a symbol of defiance, of divine protection. Below the statue, a plaque read, "It stood when the world wanted him to fall." The president's voice was barely above a whisper. The lion didn't just block a mine, it revealed the snakes in my house. He turned back to Sekou. From now on, nothing stays hidden. No more silent corruption. I want names. I want alliances exposed, no matter the rank or office. Yes, sir. And the lion, Ibrahim asked. Any trace of it? We asked nearby villages. No one owns it, doesn't match any herds. It appeared, stood still, and vanished. Ibrahim smiled faintly. It did what humans couldn't. It listened. It stood its ground. He stepped forward and placed his palm on the top-secret map of West Africa laid across the table. Emarkusone foratiline. They fear me because I don't bow, he said. But they will now see why I never will. And as he spoke, somewhere deep in the grasslands beyond the palace walls, the lion prowled on, unknown, unseen, unstoppable. 3 days later, the palace received a diplomatic request from a foreign embassy, one of the friendly ones. The message was warm, courteous, a formal gesture. A delegation would like to pay a goodwill visit to the president of Burkina Faso, bearing gifts and offering renewed cooperation. Ibrahim Traoré read the letter in silence. On the surface, it was harmless, but something in his chest felt sharp again. The same heaviness from the road. He looked up at Ziku. Do we have surveillance on them already? Ziku nodded. They've rented an estate just outside Ouagadougou. 4 delegates, 2 Americans, 1 French, 1 Swiss. They brought electronic devices, crates of gifts, and something odd, an armored tea box, triple sealed. What's inside? Oh, working on it. Ibrahim tapped the table. Let them in. Ziku blinked. Sir? I want them here. Let's play this exactly as they expect, but every corridor they walk through must be a trap they don't know they're walking into. The meeting was set for 2 days later. On the day, the palace gleamed. Freshly polished tiles, national flags flying, trays of fruit and water placed on elegant tables. The 4 foreign delegates arrived, dressed impeccably, well-rehearsed smiles, firm handshakes, and hollow compliments. We've admired your resilience, Mr. President, the Swiss envoy said smoothly, and we're here to deepen that friendship. They offered gifts, books, small sculptures, and then the tea box. It was beautiful. Wooden, intricately carved, custom alpine blend, said the Frenchman, rare, sourced for your health. Ibrahim accepted it with a polite nod. Very thoughtful. But he didn't touch it. Because 2 hours earlier the box had already been opened in a secured underground room by palace technicians wearing gloves and biohazard suits. Inside the box, buried under the tea sachets, was a sleek black bracelet, smooth, polished, unassuming, but hidden within it, a micro-injector. The type used in covert assassination attempts. A drop of poison. 1 handshake. 1 second of skin contact. Enough to stop a heart in less than a minute. Ziku entered the conference room quietly. He whispered something to Ibrahim, then stepped aside. The president's eyes darkened. He rose slowly. This country, he said, has buried too many sons and daughters at the hands of smiling enemies. Your gifts are not gifts. Your words are not friendship. The 4 men froze. He raised his voice. Doors burst open. Soldiers surrounded the delegates, guns drawn. 1 man reached for his pocket. Bad mistake. Prode got thicker by the second. The bracelet was ripped from its hiding spot. You were going to kill me with a handshake, Ibrahim said. This is how far you've fallen. One of the men, pale and shaking, broke. We tried mines, then pressure, then this, and he survives. Always. How? Ziku stepped forward. Because he doesn't fight alone. Ibrahim finished the sentence. And sometimes, even lions fight with him. The footage spread like wildfire. Clips of soldiers storming the palace conference room, the exposed poison injector, the stunned diplomats being dragged out. And then, the face of President Ibrahim Traoré, calm, unshaken, as he delivered his address to the nation that very night. He stood behind a simple desk. No golden frames, no filtered lights, just the flag of Burkina Faso waving gently behind him. I was nearly assassinated this week, he began. Not on a battlefield. Not by rebels. but by men in suits, men who entered my home with smiles bringing gifts, and death hidden in a bracelet. The room he spoke from was so quiet, even the sound of the camera's whir could be heard faintly. They planted mines beneath my road, they bribed my advisors, they tracked my vehicle, and when all else failed, they tried to end my life with a handshake. He paused. But they failed. He leaned in closer, eyes locked onto the screen. Because something they never planned for stood in their way. Not a soldier, not a drone, but a lion. Viewers across West Africa sat frozen. Households in Mali, Guinea, Niger, and even France tuned in. On social media, the hashtags Lion of Burkina and Entrera Lives Again trended for hours. They call us weak, he said. They think Africa is a chessboard, that our leaders can be removed with wires and whispers. But today, they learned otherwise. He stood up. From this day forward, no foreign military base, no private contractor, no intelligence agent may operate on our soil without transparency. Any violations will be treated as acts of war. Gasps were heard even through the broadcast. And to those who funded this, he continued, eyes blazing now, I have your names, I have your messages, and I won't just survive your attempts, I'll expose them. He walked away from the camera as the screen slowly faded to black, replaced only by the national crest, and silence. The next morning, the streets of Ouagadougou erupted. Teenagers painted murals of lions with glowing eyes on walls across the city. Elders cried in front of radios. Children wore cardboard manes and roared in schoolyards. Poets called it the day the jungle chose a side. In Mali, a viral poem read, "It came with poison, but the land had its guard. It came with lies, but truth stood tall and scarred. They came for the heart of a nation. But the lion blocked the road?" Meanwhile, back inside a shadowy boardroom overseas, the orchestrators of the failed operation stared at their screens in disbelief. "Man was supposed to die," one of them muttered. "Everything was aligned." "How," another whispered, "does a lion destroy a $3 million 0-cent assassination?" But no one had the answer. Back in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré stood in the palace garden. Before him, the giant lion statue now gleamed in the sunlight. Welded from scrap metal, painted bronze, its head was raised to the sky. And below it, etched in stone, it stood when the world wanted him to fall. While the world debated the symbolism of a lion blocking a presidential convoy, in a quiet village outside Bobo Dioulasso, a barefoot cattle herder named Douda stood beneath a mango tree, gripping his stick and whispering to the local imam. "Home of my lions went missing for 2 days," he said softly. "A big one, male, brown mane. Not too aggressive, just strange. Then it came back. But something was off." The imam raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, off?" "Deer was a burn mark on its leg," Douda said. "Like hot metal touched it, and red paint, right on its mane, almost like someone marked it." "Marked it for what?" Douda swallowed. "I don't know. But when I saw the lion statue on TV, I swear, Imam, that was him." The Imam's expression darkened. He sent a messenger straight to the capital. By dusk, President Traoré had heard the report. "Bring the lion," he ordered. "Quietly. No parade. No spectacle. Just bring it under guard. I want it studied." That night, under armed escort, the lion was transported to a secure facility behind the palace. It didn't resist. It didn't roar. It walked calmly as though it knew it had returned to finish something. Veterinarians and security experts conducted thorough scans, and what they found stunned even the most skeptical among them. On the lion's mane, traces of red powder used in military marking systems. On its right leg, an old, partially healed cut with human blood residue embedded in the fur, blood that didn't match the lion. "Someone tried to grab it," said the chief vet. "Maybe even hurt it, but it didn't run. It stood." Ibrahim Traoré listened in silence. Then Sekou stepped forward. "Sir, fresh intel just came in. Our surveillance team intercepted encrypted chatter between foreign operatives. They're planning something new. No bombs, no bracelets, something quieter. Infiltration." "Yeah. A diplomat," Sekou said. "A handshake, a soft voice, a smile." Ibrahim stood and walked toward the lion's enclosure. The animal lay calmly behind reinforced glass, watching him with regal eyes that gleamed in the dim light. "You bought us time," the president whispered. "But now we must trap the ones who sent death with diplomacy." He turned to Sekou. "Set the trap. Let them come." 3 days later, the palace welcomed another peace delegation. 4 officials, suits, small talk, plastic smiles. They arrived with a new box of gifts, luxury teas, smart tablets, miniature sculptures. But this time, the president already knew, because Operation Mirror was in motion. Every gift was scanned, every handshake analyzed, and hidden beneath the tea once again, this time under a false-bellied drawer, was a new tool of death, a thin injector embedded in a wristwatch. Within seconds, the room was locked down. Soldiers stormed in. The diplomats never saw it coming. As they were dragged out, one of them cried, "How does he always know?" Sekou answered calmly, "Because he listens to the land, and the land listens back." The lion had vanished again. Hours after the latest infiltration was exposed, it slipped out of its secure enclosure, bypassing sensors, bypassing guards. No one saw it leave, no broken fences, no signs of struggle. One moment it was there, calm and still, the next, gone. Sekou reviewed the security footage. The last clip showed the lion standing completely motionless in the moonlight, staring directly at a camera. Then, static, blank, and silence. "It wasn't just watching," he murmured. "It was waiting." President Ibrahim Traoré stood at the center of the palace strategy room, surrounded by maps, classified files, and satellite images of suspected infiltration hubs across West Africa. They had tried everything: bribes, bullets, betrayals, and now silent poisons tucked inside tea boxes. And each time they failed. Not because of intelligence, but because something kept revealing them before they struck. "This is no longer physical warfare," Ibrahim said, turning to his inner circle. "This is psychological. They want to wear us down, make us paranoid, break us from within." One of the senior generals nodded. "Fear is cheaper than bullets, sir." "And infiltration is cheaper than invasions," Sekou added. Ibrahim placed a hand on the map of Ouagadougou. "Then we beat them with truth," he said. "From now on, every threat, every betrayal will be exposed to the public, loudly. No more secrets, no more shadow wars. Let the people see the enemy's face." He called the plan Operation Mirror. Every palace staff member would be rotated and screened. Every foreign guest would be vetted 3 times. Every intercepted threat would be announced, not buried. The next morning, Burkina Faso's national broadcast opened with a chilling headline. "Another plot exposed, poison hidden in wristwatch, foreign diplomats arrested." Across the country there were no protests, only pride. Mothers wept, fathers raised their fists, children drew lions with crowns. And in the villages, elders told a new story around the fire. The mead came with poison and power, but the land sent a lion, and the lion said, "Not here." Meanwhile, across the ocean, in corporate boardrooms, a different storm brewed. Men in suits with intelligence ties flipped through reports in disbelief. One slammed a folder down. "We've tried landmines, digital tracking, poison, and that man still breathes." "He doesn't just survive," said another. "He multiplies. Every failed attempt makes him stronger." "But how?" asked a third. "We control the media, the money, the pressure. What's protecting him?" No one had an answer. Because what protected Ibrahim Traoré wasn't just security. It was a belief that truth was worth defending with open eyes and an open heart. A belief that lions, real or symbolic, still walked among the righteous. And back in the grasslands beyond the capital, far from cameras, a lion prowled again. Untouched by fame, unknown to power, but deeply connected to something the enemies of Africa could never control. A land awake, a leader watching, and a people no longer afraid. Weeks later, the African Union convened an emergency summit in Mali. Heads of state, ministers, and observers gathered under blazing lights and tighter-than-ever security. The continent was still echoing from the waves made by President Traoré's public revelations. Landmines, espionage, and a lion standing over death. This time, the world wasn't just watching Africa. It was watching Korea. It was listening. President Ibrahim Traoré entered the summit hall without ceremony, no red carpet, no grand welcome. But when he appeared, all eyes turned. Some delegates nodded respectfully. Others, connected to foreign interests, lowered their gaze. Journals surged as he stepped to the podium. The room quieted. He didn't begin with politics or policies. He began with a sentence that stunned the room. Yes, a lion saved my life. Some laughed. Until he raised a single finger and continued. Well, that's not the miracle. The room quieted again. The real miracle, he said, voice calm and steady, is what that lion revealed. It exposed men with polished shoes and forked tongues. It exposed corruption hidden in smiles. It reminded me, and all of us, that even the land itself can speak if we are humble enough to listen. You could hear a pen drop. No matter how many degrees or weapons we possess, we are not above truth. That lion did not roar, did not charge, did not kill. It simply stood in silence. But in doing so, it unmasked a war none of us had seen. He scanned the hall. How many more of you are being tracked, manipulated, watched through your own convoys? How many of you are wearing ties paid for by people who want your silence? No one responded, but unease spread like fog. They want us divided, distracted, dismantled, so we forget who we are. But Africa is not weak. Africa is not a puzzle to be rearranged by foreign hands. He took a breath. We are not afraid because we are protected, not just by guards or weapons, but by something deeper, by justice, by purpose, by lions when necessary. The room broke into applause, not polite, not staged. Bill, rising. That night, the speech went viral. Across Africa, radio stations played it line by line. In Burkina Faso, villagers replayed it on solar-powered TVs. Children memorized the phrase, "Even the land can speak if you're humble enough to listen." And deep in the capital, in a small school on the edge of the city, a boy named Duda, yes, the same herder who'd once whispered about the missing lion, sat in class, watching the replay on a tablet donated to the school. He grinned. "First the mango," he whispered to his friend. "Then the lion."
"What do you think saves him next?" the boy asked. Duda shrugged. "Maybe a chicken." The class laughed. But somewhere outside the city, beneath the orange light of sunset, the grass rustled again. And something wild kept watch. Because war wasn't over. But neither was the miracle. The sun dipped low over Ouagadougou, painting the palace walls in burnt orange and casting long shadows across the garden where the lion statue stood tall. President Ibrahim Traoré sat alone beneath a baobab tree. In his lap rested a small, leather-bound notebook, his personal journal, the same one he carried through every battle, every betrayal. Tonight he wasn't writing a speech, he was writing memory. And he scribbled a single sentence. They tried to end my life with my own people, but something greater stood in their way. He paused, then underlined the words, something greater. Footsteps approached softly. It was Siku. "Sir," he said quietly, "we've concluded the interrogation." Ibrahim didn't look up. "More names?" "Yes, more layers. They were embedded deeper than we thought. Schools, charities, even a language institute. hidden networks using culture as cover. Ibrahim closed the notebook. Let them know we see them now, not just as enemies, but as architects of a broken system. Siku nodded. Permission to act? Yes. That no darkness. Expose them publicly. Every betrayal must meet the daylight. Just then, Karim, the head of security, stepped into the garden. He carried a tablet. Sir, you need to see this. He tapped play on a drone feed filmed hours earlier by a reconnaissance unit in the southern forest region. A group of armed foreigners were setting up a disguised listening post near the border, but just before they could finish, something massive moved in the grass. A lion, not attacking, not growling, just walking slowly between the mercenaries and their equipment. They froze, panicked. One tripped, another dropped his gear. The lion never turned back, simply passed through and vanished. The mission collapsed within minutes. The operatives fled. Ibrahim stared at the screen. Same lion, same markings. Burn scar on the right leg, red trace still visible on its mane. No logical explanation for how it found them. Ibrahim stood slowly. No logic needed. We're beyond logic now. He turned and faced the lion statue, now surrounded by candle offerings and children's drawings placed there by visitors. One small card read, "Thank you for saving our president. We are not afraid anymore." He turned to Siku and Karim.
Tomorrow, we release everything. Let the world see the web that tried to trap us and the beast that tore through it.
Everything? Karim asked. Everything, Ibrahim confirmed. The logs, the photos, even the footage of the lion. He looked out across the horizon. If they fight us in silence, we'll answer with truth. If they move in shadows, we'll burn the ground beneath them. He paused, then added, because this land doesn't just grow crops, it grows resistance. That night, the world changed. A video titled "When the Land Fights Back" was uploaded by the official government page. Within hours, it crossed 10 million views. And far away, in the brush of the savannah, the lion, silent, sacred, unknowable, lay beneath the stars. It didn't know it had saved a nation. It only knew it had stood when it mattered most.